Americans don't like how Donald Trump is handling the Epstein Files. In fact, just 16% approve of Trump's handling, according to a new Washington Post poll. That might explain why the president is threatening to weaponize the Justice Department. This time, of course, it's an effort to distract, right? He's reverting back to a line of attack from his first term, raging against the Russian election interference probe. But now he's adding a new twist and making up lies about the 2024 election. Last week, Trump suggested the Justice Department should target Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and others over debunked claims about the 2016 election. Then this weekend, the president said Beyoncé, Oprah, and, quote, others to be named, end quote, should also be prosecuted because of a Trump lie claiming that, they were paid to endorse Kamala Harris for president. That's why they should be investigated. Joining us now, Democratic Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove of California. She is a member of the House Judiciary Committee.
Congresswoman, I know your colleagues over on the Senate side right now are actively going through the confirmation process for Emil Bove to the Third Circuit. And this is also at a time in which U.S. attorneys' confirmation votes are coming up here. There is a lot on your plate. For the House Democrats here, when you know that Tulsi Gabbard is releasing these newly unclassified documents, the president is suggesting all these individuals should be investigated, how actively in real time are you and your colleagues best determining your path forward in terms of your guys' role in the House Judiciary Committee right now?
So I'm good to be here with you all. Only the confused and unwell would go up against the beehive. That's all I have to say. Nobody on the Judiciary Committee has been talking about Beyoncé or Oprah. We have been talking about releasing the Epstein Files. And in fact, there was a major victory for Democrats in the House Oversight Committee to get a subpoena. I will say that all of this nonsense is a distraction from the fact that this is a classic case of underdog versus abuser. And who are you fighting for? And this president is continuing to fight for and to protect the abuser, the rich and the powerful, cronies and friends of him, that are his friends, while cutting the health care, the scholarships, and the jobs of the underdog. So that is why we are so up in arms about the Epstein Files and want them fully released.
Realistically, what do you think that if you guys move forward with that petition on the House floor to go to the Department of Justice and get whatever Epstein Files you can, realistically, do you believe that you will be able to get in your possession and then release to the public with redactions that are done to ensure that nobody's reputation is improperly impugned?
Well, this is all about the reputation of the president, first of all. But as you can see, House Republicans are having all kinds of conniption fits. That's why we were voting on suspension files rather than having committee votes and rules and on the floor, because they are afraid of everything that are in these files. Once again, we are saying you cannot have two sets of rules, one for the president and one for everybody else. I am certain that we are going to get all kinds of, verbal gymnastics coming out of the DOJ's office and this president's mouth because they are trying to close Pandora's box. But the American people want to know, and the American people are tired of being lied to and disrespected. I had a town hall just last week, 27,000 people on the call, and they're talking about Section 8. They're talking about Social Security. They're talking about cuts to Medicaid, and they are wondering why this president is not fighting for them.
But, Congresswoman, we do have two sets of rules. We do have a set of rules for Donald Trump, and we do have a set of rules for everybody else. The Supreme Court has already told us that. And so I think that is part of the problem here, is that when you're looking at the weaponization of our Justice Department, at the end of the day, perhaps Barack Obama, Beyoncé, and others should start talking to counsel. Because who's going to stop them? Who's going to stop this Justice Department from bringing charges? The Congress? This Congress?
Well,
I mean, really, because at the end of the day, there's a level of frustration for sure, but you still wind up at the same spot. Donald Trump calls the shots, and there's no one in town or around the country prepared to stop him, particularly when the courts have said, hey, as president, all you have to do is say it's an official act. so he can weaponize the Justice Department as an official act to go after people he thinks have committed a crime, which they haven't, right? But that's lawyers.
Well, yeah, we do see this. I mean, we see this with Tulsi Gabbard, who is completely misusing her position. This is someone who is the director of national intelligence, and she was disinvited from coming to Congress to a classified briefing to talk about the Iran strikes. But now they want her front and center, espousing all of this propaganda, information that was refuted actually by a Senate bipartisan intelligence committee led by Little Marco. And she's not suggesting to investigate him. I think what we're also seeing with the judiciary is that a healthy democracy happens when you have the courts and Congress that are neither silent nor complicit. And Democrats in Congress are certainly standing up, and we are calling things out. We are trying to reveal as much as we can. Republicans in Congress have certainly bent the knee, and they are laying on their backs, doing all they can to protect Donald Trump rather than the American people. Thankfully, you actually do have some judges, especially judges in the lower courts, who are saying, I have read the assignment. The assignment is to interpret the law and to hold everyone accountable to the same law. And now they're butting up against Donald Trump, who is a sore loser, who's upset that he's been losing so much in the courts, who now wants to go after members of the judicial branch. Michael, I have never talked to judges who've said that they were afraid of losing their jobs because they were doing their jobs.
Right.
Can I just note along these lines, I do think that Donald Trump's late night rants about Obama, Beyoncé, Oprah, right, Kamala Harris, these are, I think he's trying to distract, but I also think that they're very deliberate. It's like a dog whistle. We cannot act as though that there are people that weren't out there trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. That there are people who were not apprehended outside of President Obama's house months ago here in Washington, D.C. That his supporters have not acted on the crazy things, suggestions that the president has put out there. So I am just actually very concerned that amongst all of the crazy and everything, that this could be pushed off to the side as here goes Donald Trump again, just, being unhinged and kind of delulu out there. It is serious and sinister, I feel like.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's pernicious. It is an attack of democracy. It's also an attack on our humanity as Americans. Now, you mentioned a bunch of names. They all had one thing in common. And Donald Trump is a master at racist, discriminatory, distracting tactics, that are dog whistles, so that he can try and push his agenda while also keeping his supporters and sycophants complicit. So the Congressional Black Caucus came out hard in the paint against Tulsi Gabbard and the crazy rants that she was making, because A, don't come for our president, and B, the Congressional Black Caucus is the conscience of the Congress, and C, we understand how he is using our names and our people to continue to polarize and divide. That's why I said this is about the underdogs versus the abuser. And I have to tell you that most of the folks that are getting up every day trying to figure out how to make life easier for them are the underdogs. And we are being thrown under the bus by this administration that is hell-bent on trying to rake in as many American dollars into its own coffers as it can, while dismantling, laws that are designed to protect us all.
We are going to leave it there. Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove, thank you so much.